I'm going to be very brief about this. I wanted to provide some of the experience, particularly that we've had in California. California Air Resources Board did a survey as a result of implementation, the early stages of the implementation of their fuel switching regulation back in 2009. And as far as I know, and I'd love to hear from others, if there are any other studies out there or surveys out there of vessel operators, this is one of the only studies that has been done. So I wanted to just provide you with some of the summary conclusions, the highlights of some of the technical challenges that were noted by the vessel operators, and then some of the recommendations, the solutions in the report. And this was commissioned by the California Air Resources Board, the California Maritime Academy in Northern California was commissioned to conduct the survey. Okay. And I always like to, you guys have seen these pictures too. You can tell I steal pictures from people. Thanks, Simon. So again, I just wanted to quickly provide the background. This is old hat for all of you. Our work at U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, our mission is to protect human health and the environment. We do a lot on all modes of transportation, and in particular relevant to this conference on ship emissions. And I think I went over this a little bit yesterday, just as a reminder of our North American ECA. And that's a repeat as well. That's maybe the 5th time you all have seen that slide. And as a reminder on the control, emission control area requirements for NOx emissions, beginning in 7 months, January 1st, 2016, in North America, we'll have a Tier 3 NOx standard, which is the equivalent of approximately 80% reduction in NOx relative to Tier 1. And then we have our PM and SOx controls at 0.5, and then now at the 0.1% currently. Okay, just a refresher, just to wake everybody up. Okay, so this is the essential summary of the report, and I wanted to start with the summary itself. And in essence, they went out and they conducted surveys of hundreds of vessel operators after California had implemented their vessel fuel switching regulation, because they were hearing a lot of concerns, and we're still hearing a lot of those concerns. So I'm actually really looking forward today to hearing from Captain Vignay and others about the fuel switching challenges that continue to remain. We heard a little bit about them yesterday, so I think we still have some challenges. And the overall experience of the vessel operators that were surveyed in the report had what they call excellent or good experience. So they didn't really have any technical issues at all. That's 85%, but that's still 15% that did have some operational challenges. And I'm going to summarize what some of those are, and then some of the recommended solutions. Some of the operators reported operational changes when changing routes, slowing down. They had to slow down during the switch. Those were some of the sort of tactics that they had to use. And there was a report of needing to increase the number of staff in the engine room to do the procedures and take care of what was necessary to do the fuel switch properly. Of note, most of the operators that were surveyed did, and this is a while ago now, did report that they were able to find the fuel. So the fuel was available, and this is, again, for California at that time, was the 0.1% distillate. Just continuing on the summary, the fuel switching related problems were primarily noted for the following. Obviously, after they switched from the heavy fuel oil to the distillate, that's when most of the problems were noted. Some of the problems that were noted were related to the equipment, the fuel pumps, leakage in the O-rings and the gaskets. There were problems More reported during the maneuvering operations, I think when there's lots of high load, high power, versus just the smooth transiting modes. And the fuel properties that were noted of concern, and we heard about this yesterday for those of you who were here yesterday from our panelists, including Eddie from ExxonMobil, that there were a high number of comments about and concerns about the viscosity of the distillate and the compatibility with the engines. So on a summary of the potential causes of the operational difficulties, so heating of the distillate fuel, we heard this yesterday, results in this viscosity below the recommended minimum level. And that, I think, sometimes combined with some of the other factors associated with the switch to the lower sulfur distillate fuel, led to some of these problems. And some of those other factors included worn fuel systems. I think we heard a little bit about that yesterday. Seeing some of the wear and tear on the fuel pumps and in the seals and in the cylinders themselves. And I'm actually really looking forward to hearing more about some of the alternatives to using lower sulfur fuel from our panelists this morning. The engine adjustments were not optimized for the use of the distillate fuel, such as the rack and the governor settings. And operational procedures were not optimized for the use of the distillate fuel. So those were some of the other factors. And then overcoming the challenges. I'm sure there are other recommendations at this point, and maybe some of these have actually changed or have been modified since this report was actually done, since we have a lot more experience in fuel switching. But overcoming some of the challenges included things that we heard yesterday, so making sure that the fuel line and the engine components are, really upgraded to be compatible with the new fuel properties. The fuel, to make sure that fuel switching pre-testing is conducted. That's another recommendation that came out of the report. And then determining the condition of the high pressure fuel pumps using the fuel pump index. And then I think of great importance is making sure that the procedures for actually switching the fuel are well documented and kept on board, so that the crew can, as they turn over, can perform the switching according to that specific vessel's requirements. Adjusting the preventative maintenance schedule. I think we heard yesterday there were some increases in the frequency of maintenance and other fuel pump changeouts and things of that nature. So making sure that that maintenance schedule is updated so that the staff are aware of what needs to be done, if it's more frequent or not. And then specifying and verifying. I think we heard a lot about this yesterday too, making sure that you know what you're putting in your engine. So specifying and verifying the fuel viscosity and the properties really of the fuel that you're buying. And then maintaining the fuel systems, I think is another, that goes back to just the maintenance procedures and the scheduling of maintenance is to prevent leakage, to prevent any other deleterious impacts to the engine system. I think, well, you can read some of these for yourself. I think the other thing that was a real lesson learned and an outcome and a recommendation here was to make sure that the crew was actually trained and well trained in the fuel switching procedures, and they were aware of some of the issues that could potentially occur with using the newer fuel and how to abate those issues. So the crew training actually came out as a very top recommendation from this particular report. And that's it. I just wanted to keep it short. That's it.